Hey everyone, it's Braulio Rosa with the Broward Bar Buzz. It's a great honor to have the one and only Mike Haggard, managing partner of the Haggard Law Firm, and truly an icon in the legal world as a trial lawyer. Welcome, Mike.
Well, thanks for having me.
So, you've been known as a Miami lawyer, but you're really not just a Miami lawyer. You've created an office here, and Kim Wald is your person running it. Talk a little bit about kind of flexing and coming up in here to Broward and Kim leading that charge for you.
Yeah, I mean, we're thrilled with it, first of all. We've handled cases throughout Florida and the country forever, and obviously have tried a number of cases in Broward. And then it just so happened, Kim, just unbelievably was available. And she has done a phenomenal job just with her roots being from here, going to school here and being obviously with Kelly Houston all those years. And she has just taken it and done an incredible job. She's a phenomenal partner with the firm. She's only been with the firm, I believe, less than 2 years, tried 3 cases, gotten 3 plaintiff's verdicts in the last 2 years. So she's on a roll.
Wow. Kim has been, I've worked with her closely because she was our young lawyer president a couple of years ago. And she's the type of person, and I won't use the language you've used, but she gets stuff done. She gets stuff done. And I'm sure she's amazing in the courtroom for you.
She is, I probably can't use the language she used either, but the first time we tried a case together, when she sat down after picking the jury, she was so excited to be right there in the courtroom. I mean, that's where she belongs. And we need more lawyers like that throughout our community. We need lawyers that want to try cases and are much more happy when they're in front of a jury than they are at their desk. And that's who Kim is, and I love it.
It's a special talent. So, we've met a few times and we've talked, and I really gathered about your passion about safety for the public. And what I've noticed is, and before I ask the question, is often people will think, oh, well, these lawyers, ambulance chasers or whatever. What they don't understand is it's lawyers like you that make things safe for us. You will often have someone that's suffered terribly because of defective product or bad service, whatever it may be. And it's guys like you and gals that go out there and fight the good fight. So thank you for doing that. And with that, talk a little bit about that monumental case with the pools and drowning, and talk about how this filter or whatever would hold people. Give us the scoop on that and the whole story.
Yeah, no. Many years ago, back in the early 2000s, I represented a young man named Lorenzo Peterson. He was stuck in a pool drain, put his hand in the bottom of the drain and was stuck there and was irreversibly brain damaged. And, we handled that case, and what we discovered was he wasn't the first. There had been 200 kids that were either catastrophically injured or killed over the past 25 years. And we discovered all that. We got all this information from the pump manufacturer and the drain manufacturer, and we still tried the case. They wouldn't resolve the case. And we got over $100 million verdict. And the District Court of Appeal found that the pump itself was defective. Now, this is a regular pump that's in everyone's pool. And they wouldn't change the pump, because if they did, they'd have to retrofit almost every pool in the United States. So I did all I could. I went to Consumer Product Safety Commission meetings telling them what was wrong with the pump, and all they had to do was put a single switch on it. And they wouldn't do it. And the pool industry fought us every step of the way. Unfortunately, I handled 5 different death cases, children dying, knowing in my heart, I know what's wrong with this pump, but we couldn't get anybody to do anything. And then so happens that Secretary of State James Baker, who had been Chief of Staff to Ronald Reagan, Secretary of the Treasury, his granddaughter was killed in Alexandria, Virginia. Virginia Graham Baker was her name. She was killed at a first grade party where there were 30 people. And she was held to the bottom of a jacuzzi by the same drain that brain damaged Lorenzo, the same exact pump. So now that this happens to her, the law firm that was up there brought us in, and I met with the Baker family, and the first thing I said to the secretary is, this is our chance. With you and your power politically, we can really do something. And to me, that's what the tort system's about. It's not only about getting justice for your client, but preventing this from happening to anyone else. And we were able to pass a bill. Debbie Wasserman Schultz from right here was the House sponsor. And the only time I've ever been in the Oval Office was when George W. Bush signed that bill that Debbie Wasserman Schultz sponsored, and knock on wood, we have not had a suction entrapment in the United States in the last 15 years.
No, that's amazing. We don't know how many lives you've saved with just staying true to that path and fighting for people. So it literally would just suck and hold your hand, you couldn't, or your foot, or whatever it be.
Yeah, and I can't stress enough, that if it's a regular pool drain, this is nothing special. And if you get your hand obstructed in a pool drain, unless it's a dual drain system or unless it has this cutoff switch, you're not going to be able to get out. Not only will you not be able to get out, you can have 3 offensive linemen from the Dolphins come try. They're not going to be able to pull you out until that pump is turned off. Nowadays, what we have is we have dual drains and we have cutoff devices, and that's why we've been so successful. If you go look at your pool drain right now, it'll say VGB certified. That's what it'll say at your apartment, at your home. And it's been an incredible safety law that a lot of people worked very hard to get done.
That's awesome. So any public, pretty much all pools should have this by now at this point.
Every single pool.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. Now, in terms of safety, there's other passions you have, other areas. I know we were talking about gun safety, and there is an epidemic out there going on, and we both were talking about you hunt, and I support all of that too. So give us your perspective on what's going on with guns right now.
It really comes into focus when you travel internationally. No matter where you go, and you can say to your Uber driver or your cabbie, and whether you're in Spain, whether you're in England, you're in Argentina, and you say, what do you think of America's gun problem? And people are aghast. I mean, 96% of the world's gun violence happens in the United States. Wow. We make up 4% of the world's population. It's a uniquely American problem. And so, we handle all these negligent security cases. And what I continually say to businesses, I go to conferences where I speak on security to businesses. I said, look, nothing's happening in Washington. I mean, nothing's going to happen on guns. And so it becomes businesses' problem, because when you have a mass shooting, or you even have a shooting at your mall, at your gas station, God forbid, your bar, whatever you own as a business owner, that's going to be terrible for business. Forget about the lawsuit that may or may not be coming. When you have those type of tragedies, they don't open that place anymore sometimes. They shut it down, and people don't want to go there.
Nope.
So this is a problem that's not just about trial lawyers. It's about businesses. It's about crime victims. And we need to make it more safe. We have 40,000 people a year who lose their life to gun violence in the United States.
What?
40,000 people. It's the #1 killer of people under 18, ahead of automobiles. First time in history that there's another cause, and it's gun violence. Just happened last year.
Crazy.
So it's just a terrible problem, and that's really at the heart of what our cases are trying to do. These negligent security cases where businesses are on notice, especially in 2024, that this can happen. You can have not only a mass shooting, but a shooting at your property, and you've got to have security to prevent against it. And that's really where we are.
So what kind of businesses should be concerned about this? I'm assuming obviously things like concert halls and any place that you have like a gathering, but maybe there's places that would be surprised that they could potentially be liable for this sort of situation.
The sad thing is it's every business you can think of nowadays. I can tell you just with our cases, we handled the mass shooting case at a hot yoga.
What?
In Tallahassee, Florida, at a very nice little shopping center called Benton Place in Tallahassee. A man came there who's an incel, an involuntary celibate. Okay, there's actually a classification for somebody like this who hates women. And he came to a hot yoga facility.
Wait, I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah, no, it's
a guy who hates women.
Guy who hates women.
Okay.
And they call them involuntary celibates. The Secret Service, the FBI has studies on these type of people. And he came there, and he shows up, and he gives a credit card that's not his name. He signs a different name. He has a yoga mat that is brand new. It's in its package, never been opened. He's in jeans, and he's wearing a hoodie in July in Tallahassee, Florida. He asked the manager, is this your biggest class? Do you have a class of more attendees today, or is this your biggest class? Then he starts pacing outside. He has a giant book bag, to the point where another person, another store, went and called their manager saying, I'm really worried about this guy.
Yeah.
For 10 minutes, he's outside doing this. Class fills up. He assembles his AR-15. He goes inside and he kills several people, including my client, who was a junior at Florida State University, who was an officer in a sorority. And by the fact she was an officer in a sorority, she had to go through active shooter training, which no business in the mall ever went through. The manager of the hot yoga had never gone through. And I can tell you, I never thought I'd have a mass shooting case against a hot yoga. I was vilified in the Tallahassee press for either bringing this case. At the end of the case, the spokesperson who owned the hot yoga in the shopping center went out and said, with us, you need to train your people for these events. This is going to happen. It's inevitable in our society. So when you ask what type of business, unfortunately, it's every business. Every restaurant has to be ready for these type incidents, for domestic incidents, for people with guns. And our legislature is not helping out when they get rid of concealed carry. We allow open carry in the state of Florida. We are lessening gun laws when we know we have these problems. And so you combine those and you get a powder keg for gun violence.
Just crazy. You need a license to drive, but not a license to have a gun. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So pretty deep. Talk. Any other type of crazy cases like that? I mean, you've dealt with, significant things. Swimming. The swimming pool was huge. These gun cases. I would have never even thought that there'd be liability in that sense for a business owner.
You know, it's terrible. I spoke to a group of law students up in Washington about a couple of these issues the other day. And I said, what's really sad is that, I went to law school, I became a PD, and I just wanted to be a trial lawyer. My dad was a trial lawyer, and that's what I wanted to be. And here I am at 54 years old, and I specialize in gun violence cases. The fact that somebody can do that in the United States is wrong. And what I tell everybody is I want to put myself out of business. I want to make places so safe that there's no need for that anymore. Right. Because it's really sad to think about it, but it is where we are. And what's amazing is since I've been handling these cases, obviously one of the biggest events that occurred that changed everything was September 11th. September 11th changed everything in terms of security for everyone. And we all think airports, but it's everything else. It's the technology that we have nowadays with surveillance, with drones, with what you can have on your cell phone as a security guard. You can be doing a tour of a Walmart and you can be looking through, oh my God, camera 14, there's somebody. The amount of ground you can cover with security these days is really unbelievable. And the sad thing is businesses need to do it because our government isn't helping them with the laws we're passing.
It'll only continue to get worse. We've had tremendous violence in the state with mass shootings right here in Broward County. Marjorie Stoneman. We had the place up in Orlando, right? The nightclub.
But you can we can go everywhere. There's, you've got obviously the Pulse shooting, Dollar General case in Jacksonville. We're involved in that case.
You're involved in that case.
Yeah, we represent 2 victims in that case where what's amazing about that case is you get to see the actions of a mass shooter on the day of the event. This guy wrote a manifesto that if you read is one of the scariest things you've ever read. Of a total mind that's gone awry, totally racially motivated, went out that day to do one thing, and that was to kill black people. And he went to a Family Dollar that day that a security guard drove up to. And as he's putting on his Kevlar and he's assembling his rifle, he gets back in the car because he sees a security guard. He then goes to Edward Waters University, which is a HBCU. He gets out of his car 110 feet from the freshman English class that had 90 students in it. If he makes it to that door, probably 50 people with that weapon would have been killed because there was only one exit. He could have pinned them all in there. It would have been a massacre like almost we've never seen. Thank God there was a lieutenant who was part of the security at the school who walked out of his guard booth as this guy is putting on his armor jacket, assembling his rifle, and says, "What are you doing?" He puts it in his trunk. He gets in the car. Obviously, the lieutenant calls the police, but he makes it to the Dollar General to kill 3 people that day. I mean, those are things we're seeing over and over again. A total copycat of the top shooting in Buffalo. And Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, which we handled several cases. Kim, obviously, and Kelly, you saw handles. That's really where we met Kim, working on those cases. And I can say what's come out of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas is not only the commission that has recommended a lot of security procedures for schools, but more important, those victims' families have really started a movement in so many different ways. You can look at so many of the different families and what they are doing, and they are the forefront of the fight to end gun violence in America. So these cases are, like you said, they're deep. They are powerful. They keep you up at night because you are ridiculous if you think you're immune to it. Yeah. But I think great change can come from them. It just needs to happen soon.
Recommendation for you to the general public on staying safe out there, since you've seen these.
No, I mean, you nowadays you have to be tremendously vigilant. I mean, you've really got to think about where you're filling up for gas. You know, you've got to plan that out. I hate to say that, but if you go into an unfamiliar area at night, you can't do that these days. That's where people are. These predators and these assailants are smarter than we give them credit for. They pick places that they rob folks. They really do. They have an understanding of that. So you've really got to be more vigilant than you ever have. If you're going to a store at night, don't be looking at your phone going to your car. Wait, to make that call. So I hate to say it, but it really, people have got to be much more accountable for their own actions because the criminals are looking.
Mike, how does someone get a hold of you?
Yeah, so our website is www.haggardlawfirm.com. My email is mah@haggardlawfirm.com. And yeah, for anything really. I mean, one other thing we do is it's not just work on these cases, but if you do have a cause, if you're somebody that's working on drowning prevention, Broward County's drowning prevention task force is the best one in the state. We're working on 2 bills right now for next session. So if you have an interest in drowning prevention or gun violence prevention, we can point you in the right direction.
Mike, thank you for everything you do, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here with me.
No, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.